Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Couple of Nukes. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Whiskey, and Pete and Repeat guested on Couple of Nukes. Pete guested first. Who was next? Nah,
Repeat. You
I
better
was just
stop.
gonna repeat. Yeah, good old joke. My grandmother used to tell a joke. Pete and Repeat sat on a bench. Pete fell off. Who was next? And I got trapped in the joke loop for quite a while with my grandma because I was like 8 years old. But yeah, we are here with a man named Pete. If you listen to my episode with Steve Wilson, you know the whole ordeal of how it was going to be Pete and then Steve Wilson, but then Pete rescheduled. So Steve Wilson happened before Pete, even though Pete recommended Steve Wilson to me. But we are here. Life happens, and Pete is going to tell us all about his life. Specifically, he is Pete from Pete versus Anxiety, an amazing podcast. You should check out that show if you have the chance. Specifically, the episode with Mr. Whiskey. Not to,
That's right.
just
Plug your
not
episodes.
just to pick a random episode. And but Pete is on there all the time. You every day he's posting, and it's some great stuff. Not to be confused with Mr. Whiskey versus Women with Anxiety. That show ended about 6 years ago. So we are here with Pete from Pete versus Anxiety. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself, so and we'll jump right into it.
Hey guys, how you doing? Pete from Pete for Society here, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health's not talked about enough. It's been a great man. The show since the beginning has just been an interesting adventure since day one. Like ever since I hit record, the stories and the things you get into, you just like you don't realize how deep you're about to get into it. So halfway through the year, when I decided to open up the books even further, we had, some interesting moments and things like that too. In case y'all missed the past week, I started crying on camera. This lady had me choked up. Like we get into some deep topics. Like we don't leave anything untouched. So, and that's the great thing about the show is that, so many people, I get the message all the time. Oh, hey, I'm so grateful for what you're doing and things like that too. And it's not just me that feels grateful. I feel great just because I get to meet all these people. I got to have Whiskey on the show and everything else, Steve and all them. It's been great though. It's been a real great thing since the beginning.
Yeah, and so let's go back before the podcasting days, before we hit record. Let's go all the way back to, I know from guesting on your show, a bit of a traumatic childhood, especially
Yeah.
socially with school and stuff. So let's talk about that and specifically when your anxiety came into play, because obviously Pete versus anxiety implies that you've been battling anxiety for quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and it came from extended from when my mom abandoned me when I was 10, and I didn't realize early on what it was exactly I was dealing with, because you're 10, you don't know how these things work, and as you go through, that sudden feeling of your heart racing and you're getting all like real panicked and thoughts are racing through your head. It's like you don't understand what that is. And I still didn't understand through high school. I picked on like we talked about, I got bullied a lot as a kid. And a lot of the outbursts I had was because when those thoughts started going through my head, it was just going so fast. My heart started racing, and I just started lashing out on people because I didn't know what this feeling was I was having. Because my dad and we never really had these conversations. Now, I've been to a therapist before as a kid because my mom was telling me that I had abandonment issues, but it was really her that had the abandonment issues. I had early on had seen a psychiatrist and she said I was perfectly fine, but it was my mom that wasn't. And my mom didn't like that. So she just said, oh, screw that idea. We're going to toss it out the door, But people always ask me, though, like, hey, are you okay? Is there something wrong with you? And I never understood what that meant until I finally felt the anxiety because, I got stuck in a 15-year relationship with somebody that was a narcissist, and it was like every day I was on complete edge. I was stressed out, doing a lot of drinking, all these things. And it's like that sudden feeling would come in, and she knew how to trigger it because that's what narcissists do. They feed on that kind of stuff. So she trigger it, and like your heart starts racing, the thoughts start going through your head, and it's like you fixate on these things. And it would just cycle and it's so fast. And it's like I never understood what that was though until I started really digging into my own mental health. And then when I realized what it was, I was like, oh my God, that's what it is. And all those years, when you finally realize you get that flashback and you're like, okay, now I know why it is I was so angry all the time, or I lashed out at people and things like that too, and it was so rough, man, because it was just like, if you don't know what it is, then you don't know what you're dealing with. And it's like sometimes you're too scared to find out what it is because when you do, then what are people going to think of you? Are you crazy? Like they don't know what that word means. Like you hear people say anxiety, you hear them say depression, but do people really know what it means? 90% of the time, no, they don't. They don't even know what that even means or what that even is like, though.
Yeah, so. what I'm hearing, and I smirked because your dog climbed up over and behind you, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, look at that dog." What I have to ask is if I'm tracking correctly, and this is ironic, your
Yeah.
mother who had abandonment issues then abandoned you,
Yeah.
correct? And did you ever, so was that abandonment complete cut off, or did you have some kind of communication with her at all?
Well, as a kid, I had to, like, because the whole visitation thing was my parents were divorced. So, like, you had to go visit with her. Like, I didn't have a choice. Like, at first it was I didn't have a choice, but as I got older, then the decision came that I could say no, which
Right.
we did. We had like a forced relationship. So, like, I had to go over there, and, my mother's very controlling, So, like, when you're there, it's like a whole nother set of rules, For other people that live with divorced parents that dealt with that kind of thing, it's like, and then my mom would badmouth my dad when you're over there. So it's like you force interactions. And I was already at first a little bitter about it because I was like, well, this woman who loves me just dropped me off on a doorstep and just said, fuck you, and basically left me. And I'm just like, really? How can you do that? And then I got told, and I probably shouldn't have been told this, but my dad said the only reason she wanted me to come back is because he wouldn't pay child support to her because I was living with him. So he wouldn't pay for me. So then she wanted me to come back just so I could get the thing and get paid for it. And I'm pretty sure this has probably been doctored up by the time I was told about it as a kid, but it's still like something you don't tell your kids. Because then that's
Mm,
the feeling you start going, you get really, nasty feelings towards an end because you're already mad because she left you there. And it's just like all of a sudden she cuts you off. And then she's forced me to go to therapy. So, obviously now we're being forced into another interaction with somebody. But the therapist, luckily, I liked though. So it wasn't really that bad. But there were a few that I interacted with at first because I didn't really like them too much. And I mean, when it comes to therapy, that's usually a normal thing. Like sometimes they just don't mesh with people. Sometimes their styles aren't your
yeah.
thing. So, but man, it was just rough, man. It's like because you were forced that interaction, and it's like I didn't want to be around her most times because I was still bitter about it. Hell, I was still bitter about it till about a couple months ago. I was still pretty bitter about it because I was just like, we never really had a great relationship after that point. Because after that, it was just like I didn't want to be around her because I just didn't want to be controlled. Because every time you did something, it was like she had to control your life, and then it was
Mm,
my siblings would live with her, and then you try to tell your siblings how you feel, and then they're like, "No, no, that's not what it is. That's not what you're seeing it as. Though this is what it is." So I had a lot of friction with a lot of people. I was an angry young gentleman at that time. I was really angry because I was just like I was trying to say my side of the story, but then everybody kept telling my stories wrong. It's like, but this is how I see it. You're not listening to what I'm saying. And it happened to be that I'm the middle child, and we all know how that works. When you're the middle child, you're seen but not heard. So like I felt like a lot of times I'd be talking and saying things and people just wouldn't listen to what I had to say. So and I think that's where the anxiety really started going too, is because it's like, I had the thoughts going in my head. So I'm like, I'm trying to get the thoughts out, but no one wants to listen. So that at that point they're just going back in and we're having the spin cycle go and my heart
yeah.
gets racing and things like that. And it would just be horrible, man. It's just a horrible feeling because it's like, you're trying to speak your piece, you're trying to tell somebody there's something wrong, but nobody's listening to you. And that's the scary part of it all.
Mm. I've had a lot of relationship experts, parenting experts, etc. on the show, and the conclusion that they've kind of given me that I'm curious if any of your guests or anyone you've worked with has said this to you. Has anyone ever told you that the relationship you got into that you mentioned with the narcissistic controlling person kind of mirrors the one you had with your mother, and that you may
Yeah.
have sought that for normality? It doesn't make sense when you say, well, why would I want to get to that same environment? But I've had a lot of relationship experts on my show talk about how common that is because
Yeah.
what you experience as a child influences your adulthood and what you
Yeah.
seek out. So let's kind of dive into that because you said 15 years, correct?
Yeah. 15 years,
That is a
man.
long time. That is,
Yeah. Well, you have to understand though, those 15 years, it was a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, and then we had kids. So, obviously now that was the big thing was the kids were, that whole phrase, don't stay together for the kids. Oh, we didn't listen to that part of it. We stayed together regardless. And it was just like she had a control over me. Uh, and I haven't told anybody this, and you're going to be the first one to hear this though, but I had a couple of friends that actually had told me after I got out of it that they were trying to help me. One friend, he was trying to help me that I've known for the longest time. He was almost going crazy because she got so mad she was driving a wedge between us because she was so good at controlling people. Like she had to have control, and I was just being submissive to it instead of just standing up and saying no. But at the same time, though, I was doing I was smoking a lot of weed, I was drinking. So like all these other factors are affecting how I'm thinking at this time,
Yeah, of course.
you know. And then also the fact that at the same time I didn't see what she was doing and she was making me look like an evil person in front of the kids because she'd get me so wound up, and I start getting so mad because she just start nagging at me about something, and let's add into that I wasn't sleeping much because I worked third shift, so I wasn't sleeping much. I was picking the kids up from the bus. I was taking care of the kids most of the time because she was never home, and I stayed. God knows why I stayed. I have no idea. I thought it was love, and we've all been there. We all thought it was what it was, and it wasn't.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've lost a lot of friends because of it too, because a lot of them didn't want to be around her. Hell, my own family members didn't want to talk to me for a while because they didn't like her because she was so controlling. And I think it was where it started really getting interesting. It was like, I think when one of the girls was about 3, we went to her sister's wedding. Her sister told her, "Hey, stop treating him like he's your bitch." And I like from ever since she said that, I just kept thinking about like, what is she talking about? Like, what am I not seeing here that's not there? And that was early on in the relationship too. And it was just like she was so controlling about everything. Like she'd always accuse me of things, but I'm like, I'm in the same place. What do you mean? I've been at the house the whole time with the kid. What am I doing that I shouldn't be doing? And it's like things like that. And then
Yeah.
later on, I find out, she cheated, but that's way down the story though. But we've always had the problem though. Like she'd always lie to people too, and like I'd sit there and watch her lie to everybody, and I never really thought about it myself. It's like, well, what is she lying to me about?
Mm. Mm, mm,
Because like I
mm.
didn't really think about it because I was too busy, smoking weed and drinking and all these other things, all these other factors that were playing in there that weren't I wasn't really seeing what everything was for what it was. And I had another friend, he had came and stayed with us too, and he was like, she had drove a wedge between us as well because he knew what was going on because during a hurricane, she had actually left to go be with her friend, but really was with the other individual she was cheating on me with. So she left her 3 kids at home in the middle of a natural disaster to go be with this person over there because that was so more important. And a lot of people don't even know that's what happened. And it was funny because one of the guys that was staying with me is a good friend of mine. He was there too, and he and him took care of the kids and everything. And we were stranded for like 5 days. We couldn't get out of where we were at because there was so much water around us, and stuff like that too. And a lot of people don't even know that story, honest, know that part of the story either, because she left and she claims it was, oh, my friend needs this, whatever she was claiming, because she'd always invent these people, okay? And the way gaslighting works, for anybody who wants to know, this is a really good example. She tell you that you knew this person. Oh yeah, yeah, you met that person. You know who that is. Yeah, yeah, you met them a while ago. They're this, and she'll start creating a narrative for who the person is. And I was like, no, I don't remember that. And mind you, I have a really good memory. I could remember a lot of things, but that was just like the real starting point of where it started getting really interesting for me because I was like, I've never met this person. What are you talking about? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You met them a while ago. This and that. Da, da, da. And that's where a lot of the arguments would start. Is like, she started inventing these people that they were somebody else. The guy that she was cheating on me with, she said first it was her cousin, then it's her brother. The story kept changing, and I was keeping track of who this person was, and the story kept changing. So she's like, "No, no, oh no, you're crazy. No, no, you're not thinking that right. That's not it." That constant you sitting there questioning, and then you're sitting there questioning. You're like, "Oh wait, hold a minute. There's something not right about this situation. What it is? Oh no, no, you're crazy. Don't want no, you're crazy." And it was a perfect case of gaslighting right there because like she had me questioning reality at one point, like so bad that I was hearing voices in my head that were talking to me, telling me that, either she's lying or I'm going crazy at this point. And it was like it just kept coming. And I didn't tell a lot of people about it because I was using a lot of marijuana and stuff to basically silence them and drinking to get the voices out of my head because they were just like it kept building up, until my brother one time had seen an incident between the two of us where I just snapped and I was telling him about it. It's like they're telling me to go kill myself at this point. And it's like they're like, they're strongly telling me these things. And I was freaking out because I'm like, I don't know what to do, man. I'm getting these voices in the back of my head, and if I don't drink, then the voices won't go away. If I'm not high enough, they won't go away. So I was smoking way more than I normally should, and things like that too. And then you add the alcohol and you add the non-sleeping. So then I look like a monster because I'm not controlling my actions. Because at this point, I'm in complete state of uncontrol, and she's basically playing puppet master at this point. She's basically orchestrating these little sceneries. That way, she could record me acting like a fool. That way, she could use it against me later on and go, "Oh well, hey, look, he's yelling at the kids, or he's doing this, or he's yelling at us because he's so upset." But not telling the real story is that well he's so high and all these other factors that are playing into it that he's not in the right state of mind, and I'm triggering him to get him upset so he looks like a monster and I look great because that's what a covert narcissist would do. It's just basically make themselves look good and all that great stuff.
Yeah, and I think part of the motivation for you on your end of, hey, we're going to stay together for the kids is because you were a victim of a household of divorce and
Yeah.
you knew exactly how it felt. So I can understand where you were coming from with the prevention and not having your kids go through that.
Yeah, for sure.
What I definitely want to know is how many kids y'all had, and then what is your relationship with them today? Have you kind of shared with them everything you're sharing right now? Did they kind of obviously they have their own opinions on both you and their mother, but kind of what is that relationship looking like?
I have three daughters. One is 16 now. The other two twins are 13 each.
Girl dad.
They despise me completely. All girls. They despise me, but I mean, listen, I can't blame them though. They went through a lot of stuff. When me and their mom split up, I still wasn't taking care of myself in my head. I was yelling at them all the time about things, getting upset with them over the small things. But I'm stressed out. I'm dealing with three kids on my own, trying to figure this all out. Their mom disappears. We don't know where she's at this point, you know. So she's calling randomly and filling their head with, "Oh, well, it'll be so much better here." You know, and it's just painting a picture because like, oh, hey, I'll buy you all these things because my kids always wanted a lot of stuff, but I was like, you know, you have to earn these things. I'm like, I'm not just gonna buy you it because you want it. You got to learn how to earn it. Like, okay, if you do some stuff around the house, you know, things like that. And then the oldest one started becoming a lady, so I'm like, we had to deal with that. And so I'm like, all these things are playing factors. So currently, we do not talk to each other. My brother does at least get to talk to him, you know, so I'm happy about that much. At least some of the family get to interact with him, you know, and he's just like, you know, you're just gonna have to give it time, unfortunately. And that's the hard part when it comes to these things, man. You know, like I haven't had a chance to tell him, but when I do, it's gonna be an interesting story to tell him, you know, everything that's going on and you know stuff like that too. And you know, when it comes to their mom, I don't really think I'm gonna say too much, honestly, because I think if I come from the negative aspect, the way it is already is, it's not going to end well for me because they already see her on this high level. I think they're going to have to just figure it out for themselves what really went on.
Mhm.
Like I can fill in my side of the story and avoid talking about their mom just because I don't want to come off negatively because a lot of times that's really the bad way to do it when it comes to that kind of thing. You know, just stick to your story strictly. You're sorry for the things you did and you know things like that too and all that kind of stuff. But you know, I want to talk to them, but they don't want to talk to me yet. Which I mean, I have to respect their space. Obviously, they're old enough now that you know it's when they're ready to talk, they're ready to talk. But you know, I am very happy though that my brother gets to talk to him though because he always likes to hang out with them, gets to do things with them and stuff. So he gives me updates on them and things like that too. Because the mom doesn't give me anything. I ask him, you know, hey, what are they up to these days? And all it is she'll hit me up when she wants money. That's it. Money, money, money. That's it. Everything else after that, you don't hear a single word from her.
So what was the final breaking point or the mindset shift that got you out of that
Oh,
relationship after 15 years?
okay. So it was, I went to the gym. Okay. I remember the morning very, very clearly. So the morning of that this happened, I literally went to the gym and she was texting me, like these fiercely texting me, hey, where you at? Da, 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 and like, mind you, it's no notice where I'm at. I'm at the same place. If I'm not home, I'm at the gym. If I'm home, I'm doing something else, you know. And so I remember the morning because I got mad because I'm at the gym. What do you mean? Oh, you're not out screwing some girls or something. I'm like, dude, I'm at the gym. What are you talking about? Literally the only place I'm going is the gym. I
It
work too
sounds
many
like
hours to get there.
projection
Yeah.
because people who cheat project it a lot more onto others
Oh,
because they know all the tricks and all the secrets.
it gets better. Trust me. So that morning, she got me so upset. I got mad and called her because, you know, I'm already in a mad rage because I'm just like, she's blowing my phone up. I'm like, dude, what is the deal? Where are you at? Da-da, when are you going to come home? I'm like, when I'm done working out, I'm going to be home. You know, it's like I'm not gone for like 3, 4 hours, you know, doing a bunch of random stuff, you know. And she is like getting on my case. So I flip out, of course, because I'm upset. So she calls the cops to my house. The cops tell me to leave my own house because I'm sitting there and she's not home, mind you. I think she's at the neighbor's house when she did it. I said, "Where you at?" Da da da. You know, I'm coming home now, and she's like, "Okay." Doesn't say anything, and then isn't home. So I call her like, "Hey, where you at?" And I'm already mad. So mind you, I'm still in state of rage. I'm so mad because she's got me so worked up. The cops come to my house and tell me to leave my own house, even though I'm just sitting there. I was like, you know, I'm done. The minute she called those cops and those cops knocked on my door was the I'm fucking done moment. I'm like, I'm just done. I'm not gonna do this shit anymore. So the story gets more interesting now. Okay, so I go to work. Mind you, I'm at work. I have no idea what's going on outside. I drove the car to work. So she comes in. asking me about something. I don't remember what. She was trying to make a scene in the store, so I had to get her out of this, get her out where I was working. So I go outside, talk to her, da da da, whatever. Come to find out, she stole money out of my account. She stole the car because when I left work that night, I didn't know the car had been taken. So she took the car with her, left me completely stranded. Okay. So a good friend of mine at work gave me a ride home. I go home, all my stuff is missing out of the house. She cleared this whole house out with her friend and her, just cleaned everything out and took all my things too. And it was just like, I was like, I'm just done, man. I'm not going to deal with this anymore, you know? And it was just that moment where it's like the minute those cops went on my door, I was like, I am fucking done. That's it. Because that was the breaking point for me because I just couldn't do it anymore. And it was the greatest decision ever because I literally lived, I had nothing. I was literally down to 3 boxes to my name. I lived in one of those like weekly rental hotels and I walked to work every day. And mind you, I'm in Texas, so it's hot out here. So 110 degrees, I'm outside walking to work sometimes, you know, and this stuff. And luckily, I had a really cool boss at the time. She understood what's going on. So she adjusted my work schedule so I could be there and get all my hours in because I was salary at the time. So I had to work X amount of hours. And then after that, that's it. You're done. You clock out as soon as your hours are up. So, you know, luckily it was pretty cool. But yeah, that was the moment, man. And it just gets weirder after that because she would like come by and drop the kids off all the time. Even though, mind you, she took the kids with her to go stay at her friend's house. Okay. So what she was doing, I find out later on, is that one of her good friends who stopped talking to her, which I thought was a little unusual. It's like, you know, they're like best friends. All of a sudden stops talking to her. I was like, that's kind of weird. I said, hey, what's up with your friend? I thought we were supposed to go check out their new house they're having built. So this is what I get told. Okay. So her friend had reached out. I reached out to the friend, and the husband reached back and said that, you know, no, she knew that she was up to no good. And she told her that, hey, listen, if you don't stop doing what you're doing to him, I'm not going to be a part of this. I don't want anything to do with you. I'm going to stop talking to you because I don't want to know. I don't want to be a part of what you're doing. I don't agree. So she'd been doing it for a long time. Now, remind you, as you said, the whole projection thing, that's what she was doing because she was doing weird things. And then there was another friend where she was hitting on their husband. So that's how I knew already something was going on because like that's weird. She's like, yeah, you know, she was at my sister's baby shower hitting on my husband and things like that too. And I was like, oh, this is an interesting story, and this is after we broke up and I got resettled in somewhere else where I'm at now, like 4 hours north of where we were in Houston. So it got interesting because I didn't know any of this and nobody told me this. And I wonder why one of my own good friends wouldn't talk to me. And then I find out that's the case. She was like, yeah, that's what happened. She was hitting on my husband at this baby shower, and I kept asking her all the time, like, hey, why don't you go home? You have a good guy at home. He said, I'm taking care of the kids, making sure the house, all the bills are paid. And she kept saying no. And she's like, well, I couldn't figure out why she was saying no. And I told her what happened. She's like, well, that makes sense because she refused to go home, but then she'd leave my house. And I thought she went back to your house and she didn't. She was going over to this guy's instead. So she was saying she was over there, but she wasn't there, and things like that too. So it got really interesting real quick after a little bit of while. But I'm like, just kept asking for the same thing. Like, why don't y'all just tell me what the hell is going on? Like, why were y'all not saying anything? Well, we didn't want to be involved with it. That's all you had to add in there was just like, hey, listen, I don't want to be involved in this, but this is what I know.
Mm. So, did you ever find out the cause of the cheating? Was it a lack of intimacy in y'all's relationship? Was it just her nature? What did you kind of find out more about it ever?
I think it's more her nature now. You got to remember now, she's the type of person that's not going to tell you about things.
Yeah.
She told the other guy the usual story. Oh, he's not good. Da, da, da. He's always mad. All the excuses. Well, he's angry. He's yelling at me all the time. But
Yeah.
she's not telling him the real story that it was like, hey, he's working 50 plus hours a week. He's taking care of the kids. He's doing all these things. I'm not letting him sleep. And then I'm getting mad at him because he's tired all the time. I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? I'm only human, not a machine. If you ask her, her story will be something else every time because she doesn't keep to the same story. She's that type of person who'll keep changing it and she'll constantly lie about it. So you'll never really get the true answer from her, honestly.
Hmm. It's interesting. Yeah. And I know you mentioned, so you talk about, yeah, I mean, she basically took everything and then,
Mm-hmm. Everything, bro. When I say
you're,
every single thing, anything I collected over the years, all the stuff I've had for the longest time, it's all gone. Like I lost every single thing. So now I'm very possessive over certain things in my items because I get really possessive. My wife now has to deal with that. She gets mad at me sometimes, but it's because like I had such an attachment to these items I had collected over these years. I had a big collection of
Yeah.
stuff, and it's just all gone in minutes because she just took everything. And my mom did the same thing as a kid too. She took all my Ninja Turtles and sold them and stuff. Like
Sounds
she'd do
about
weird
right.
things like that all the time. So, like it kept bringing back that memory, those deep-seated feelings of, my mom just selling all my stuff. And it's like, well, what are you doing, man? Why are you selling all my stuff? And then when I came
Mm.
home that day, that really reaffirmed that I was just done. I'm not going to go back to this crap at all. And then she claims that I'm the reason she lost the house. I'm like, no, I'm staying at the house because this is the house I paid for right now. I'm trying to find another place to go. And luckily I found something that was close enough I could walk to work though, luckily. And like I said, I had a great boss at the time. But yeah, man, I lost everything. Like anything you can think of, I lost it all. I
Mm.
did find out that I did have the baby pictures of the kids and things, so that was great. So I did have some kind of power there for a little bit, but I didn't keep them from her at all. I took some for myself to have for my own things, and then I gave her the rest of them. I said, "Well, here you go. Here's them too." I never kept anything from her because it just wasn't me. I was just like, just because she did that to me, I'm not going to do it to her because I'm not going to be the same person she was.
So how long ago was this when all this happened?
About 5 years ago. It was about 5 years, yeah, because about four of it I was single afterwards. I didn't want anything to do with anything.
Yeah, of course.
I had the girls and stuff, so I was juggling trying to take care of them, and it was, it was rough, man, because it's like you have to restart it. I literally lost my car, I lost everything, so I had to buy a new car, I had to go to some other place, and things like that. I was working whatever I had to work to make sure that we had the money to get a place of our own because my dad actually was nice enough to me and him built bunk beds for the girls to make them feel home, and things like that too. So we built this mega structure, this three-tier bunk bed system outside, shelves on it, everything. Like, it's kind of like those old Tool Time commercial, like Home Improvement where Tim Allen would go in and just accentuate everything. Yeah, that's what we did. We built these things, full out Cadillac these things for these kids. That way they had everything, because they were going through a lot too, because, they didn't see their mom anymore and, mom wasn't around. She disappeared. So it was hard at first, man. And
Mm.
it's rough. Let me tell you, it's a girl dad. Woo, boys and girls, you guys have no idea what it's like raising three girls, man. Especially when they start becoming women, it's that you have to learn things that you didn't think you had to do, and you have to have those uncomfortable conversations. Now, I valued that because it's something I never dealt with before, but now I dealt with it better. Like as soon as the whole situation went down, when I started getting their period, it was like when we moved to another place, I made sure that they had their own space, their private space, and like they're women, like knock on the doors, all that kind of stuff. Like I had to think of things that I normally wouldn't have to think of. Like normally you could just pop them the door, but no, now you have to knock on the door because they're ladies now. You can't just swing in. You got to teach them the same thing you want them to have the men treat them like the same way, and all that kind of stuff. And then we've had to have that uncomfortable conversation about, well, Dad, why can't I dress like I want to? Well, honey, because boys don't know how to act right. And to me, that's just fucked up. We have to make that kind of excuse, for them. Hey, listen, you can't express yourself because these guys don't know how to act right.
Mm. So it's interesting to me if I'm hearing correctly. After a 15-year toxic relationship, and then you were single for 4 years, and then you got married within 1 year to
Hmm.
someone, which that's a big commitment, especially with how much damage you've had done to you. So what is so special about your wife that you were able to overcome all that, or was it
You
kind of
know,
work that you did on yourself between those 4 years, you know?
you know what it is, and a lot of people ask me that question too because we were dating for a whole year, and when we first met, it was just like it just had that feeling like you knew that she'd been through a lot, I've been through a lot, and we just clicked right off the bat. Like we understood each other and things like that too. She had to go through a lot with me in the beginning though. Like I had some moments where my anxiety was just kicking up, and regardless of what I said, that was fucking completely nuts. Like my anxiety had me thinking she was cheating because I heard her friend in the background, which is a good friend of hers, and she called me back, and the way she approached it was just so different than what my ex had done for 15 years. That made me feel good about it because I was just like, okay, she gets it, she understands. When she's like, oh no, I understand the complete situation. I'm so sorry about that. Da, da, da. It was like it was just something about her at first. It was just like she was so different. Like she handled things differently. It felt like I could be honest with her about things, and we ended up getting married. when we got married, we have our up and downs. Sometimes we disagree about things, but it's different because we talk about these things. And I think that's what it was. It was the comfort level of that, the fact that, I could talk to her about things and she'd understand. But we've been through a lot though in that year. I had COVID and things like that as well, and things like that. And I got really sick for like 2 weeks. And, I've never seen her freak out so bad in my life. And it was just like the fact that this person was always there. It didn't matter the distance that we had to travel. I traveled like 2.5 hours every Sunday to go see her because it was just that special. Every time I was around her, it just made me feel better. I felt better. I felt good. I felt like I could just feel something that was attracting me to her at first. And she was so chill about things. Like she understood how I felt about things and all that kind of stuff. Mind you, she's been through a lot too. So, but it was just like that one moment you meet somebody and it's like, love at first sight. A lot of people say that thing, but it really what it was, honestly, because it was just like ever since then we've been inseparable. I think we had a disagreement for 1 week and it was killing me. So I texted her. I literally drove 2.5 hours and went back to work the same day that night. Like I didn't sleep at all and everything like that. That was the moment I think is where it just started the tipping point with me. It's like I cared so much about this person. I didn't care. I literally left at like 2, 3 in the morning, went up there 2.5 hours just to spend a couple hours with them, to come back and go back to work. Even though how tired I was, it's just like it was just that feeling like, that's the one for me.
Yeah, I relate a lot to that. I was an author in a book where I wrote about I used to drive 8 hours to go see a woman and
Yeah.
then not sleep and then go to work and stuff. So I
Yeah,
know that
fellas, let
exact
me tell
feeling
you
you're
this,
talking
fellas.
about.
Distance doesn't mean shit, okay? I don't want to hear that bullshit excuse. Oh, well, she lives too far. If she's worth it going for it, man. Because, I help her as much as she helps me. Like she was in a bad situation. I pulled her out of that situation. She's now thriving even better where she's now, has a better paying job, has a better outlook on her career and things like that too. She's enjoying other things. She's getting used to not having all these people around her though. They're really toxic, but she didn't see it like that. I did because it was just like you have so much toxic things going on here. And she was in the same boat I was. She lost everything too because her ex, he just left one day, and mind you, she's got a 4 year old as well too. So that now we brought this little girl into our lives as well. I mean, it's been great. Like that's my best friend. Like if normally during the summer when I'm recording, she's usually somewhere in this room hanging out with me while I'm doing them all the time, and things like that too. And and she's not my own blood either. That's the thing too. So it's weird for me at first. It was like I love this kid as much as she's not my blood, but I still treat her like she's blood because it doesn't matter. She loves being around me. I like being around her. She interacts well with the other kids and things like too because her sisters have met her though when we were still in that little bit of talking. They had come up to visit and things like that too, and the two of them, had hung out and things like that. And it was really great to see them interact, because she likes the older kids because all her siblings that my wife has on her side are older. They're like 18, 21,
Mm.
25, things like that too. So it's been great too because now I get a second chance at, raising a kid. Now I know the things I don't want to do that I did with mine, and hopefully they could see that
Right.
like I've changed a lot of things. I don't know if they've even seen my show, honestly, and I hope some of them watch it. Just they'll get a little more information, but I'm willing to tell them everything. Like I don't think they understand really what happened a lot of the times and things I've gone through, and it's hard, man. Like every day I'm sorry for what happened, but I mean, you can only say sorry so much, but it's what you do from that point is what really matters.
Did your anxiety at any point with your new wife when y'all were talking or first meeting or even now, do you ever had this anxious feeling of this is too good to be true,
Yes.
especially in the beginning?
In the beginning, yes, I did for a while. A lot of it too is like I'd go revert to, is she cheating on me? Those thoughts did go through my head too a lot, but the things she said and the way she addressed it weren't the same way Max did it though. So that kind of reassured me a little bit. It's like, hey, she's not doing anything wrong because she's not telling you you're crazy. She's like, okay, I understand. Let's just not overreact. And the way she would do it is just like it mellow you out completely. But my anxiety kicks up here and there now, and a lot of times it's just my brain just trickling things. But it's so weird though. Think about it, because like with text messaging, for example, like she doesn't text a lot like my ex used to. So like if I send her a message, I can't expect an instant response unless she's literally looking at the phone, or something we're trying to communicate. Other than that, it's like, so when I send a message, I had to learn that too in the beginning. that, hey, listen, she doesn't, but we did a lot of video calling too, though. So she understood, and it was just like, to me at first it felt too good to be true because it's like this person's here. It's like I feel so good around her. And whatever reason, it's just I'm so happy to be around her. Every time she's around, she just brings joy to me. Everything else like that, it just feels so fuzzy, all the warm, fuzzy feelings you get and things like that too. And that thought was in the back of my head a lot of times. It's like, oh, what if she leaves kind of thing? Because, you got to remember that 15 years is still
Yeah.
playing into this too. So we dealt with a lot of that at first as well. So, and like I said, the way she responded with it made me feel at ease though, because she was like, she didn't tell me I was crazy. Oh, hey, you're not making shit up, things like that too. And, there's been some times she has told me that shit, I'm making shit up in my head, but it's just how she is. And I think that's the way I better handle it though. A lot of times it's just, hey, but what I love about her though, man, is she sits there and she'll call me out on shit like I used to do. Like, hey, you can't keep doing this shit. No, 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 no. We ain't doing this no more. And it's funny though, because she'll criticize me, like she'll bust your balls like she's your friend, like one of the guys kind of thing. But it's for whatever reason, I take that better than anything else. I'll get mad. Don't get me wrong. I get mad. I don't like being called out for shit I'm doing because I don't like it. But at the same time, it's not because she's attacking you. It's, hey, listen, we got to cut this bullshit out because we're not going to continue doing this, and things like that too. So, but yeah, man, that thought did race through my head a lot of times, because that fear of, like, oh my God, they're cheating on me kind of thing just kept coming up. And it clearly wasn't evident with her, like I said, that just that the responses she gave and all that kind of stuff. It's just like that calming feeling she gave you when she answered you and didn't make you think you're crazy kind of thing. So
Right. And do you have anxiety of any kind nowadays, or should we change your show to Pete Defeated Anxiety?
no, Pete still got anxiety bad. It just comes and goes, man. It's more of, that thought gets stuck in your head and it's stuck on repeat and it'll just start going, and I have an anxiety journal I use too. It helps a lot of times as well. There's like the finger tapping technique a lot of times helps as well. Sometimes just a random shout out. You'll hear me just yell out, shut up real loud, telling my head to shut up and things like that too. So Pete hasn't defeated anxiety. No, no, it's still there. But it's not as bad as it used to be. It doesn't trigger as easily as it does. And now since doing the show, I'm better equipped to handle it with different things I've learned from people.
For sure. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I know, I can say as a podcaster as well, you learn so much from these
hmm
amazing people all over the
oh yeah.
globe. What, a lot of people don't say, you know what, I have anxiety, let's start a podcast about it. So how did that all happen? I mean,
That's funny, man, how it happened. Okay, so this is the story of what happened. This is the point where I realized that I fucked up and I need to do something. Me and my wife, we had a disagreement. Now, mind you, just like any other people, we have our own little banters back and forth. For whatever reason, this moment was I went completely ape shit crazy. And when she looked at me and she just said, okay, now mind you, my wife is a feisty Texas woman. She don't put up with nobody's shit, none of that. For her to say that, whatever it was when she said that, it's just something in my brain just went, whoa, like a sudden shockwave was like, holy shit, I need to do something now before I fuck this up really bad, and that was the starting point. So then I started talking to some, I started doing some therapy and they give that whole spiel, your anxiety feeds into your depression and things like that too. So I had already been doing a podcast at the time. It was already how we're having a rocky road at this point. It's called Pete's Corner Store. Anybody wants to listen to it, it's out there. I don't apologize for anything that got said in the show. I mean, it was early on. We were fucking around, a couple of people just having a good time. Okay, so we get to the third season. We get to a men's mental health episode. Okay, now this is where the eye opener started for it because it was like after listening to that episode, I was like, holy fuck, dude. I am in the percentage of people that may end up taking their life at this age. And the number is so great that it's like it had me thinking about it in the back of my head, like, oh fuck, dude, this is fucking crazy. Like, why are we doing this? Why don't we talk about these things as men, And it started getting me thinking. And then when I decided to take a break, I was just sitting there one day and I was looking through my photos of something, and the original logo, I have to remember it was like me doing something like this, okay? And it was a picture my wife had done for me. And after that incident, I was still licking my chops from being a complete asshole to her for no reason. I was doing the therapy, And it all of a sudden just hit me, Pete versus anxiety. I was like, I don't know what it was. It just stuck in my brain like I wanted it. And the original title was like, if you see, it's real rough and the lettering's real rough on the. And it's like, all right, well, let's explore this topic of mental health. So I went and Google, I looked up on Spotify to see like who's having these conversations. Doctor, 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 doctor. Okay, so where's the conversation amongst the people that are just normal people, are just having conversations,
Yeah.
And at first it was inviting just like certain people on and stuff like that. And then I was like, fuck it. Let's invite some of these professionals on and see what else I can learn as I go. So as the show progressed from season for the first half of the year, I literally started inviting more people. I had musicians on, things like that. I've had all different types of people come on, and it got interesting. But my wife at first actually didn't want me to start it, which is strange enough. If had I listened to her, I wouldn't be in the position I am now. I'm all the way out to November now, dude. I've got like 134 interviews from tomorrow till November right now of just people lined up that want to talk about this subject. And it was just crazy because like she was like, if you're gonna do this, you need to be authentic. You need to understand right now that the space you're about to get into is a serious space. And that's the one thing she's always told me. It's like, hey, listen, if you're gonna do this, you need to be authentic about it. And it was like, okay, yeah, And at first, I was like, I was trying to keep up with shit, and it got fucking bad. Like I didn't have a digital calendar in November, guys. It was horrible. But yeah, that was the starting point of the show. Now, had I told you where I'm at now and told you in the beginning of this thing, I would have laughed at you and been like, "There's no fucking way you're gonna be doing all that, dude." Like now, I've accomplished so much. I've been on a Holocaust panels, talking to a Holocaust survivor. Guy's actually been there, been to Auschwitz and a couple other camps. I've met all these different kind of people. I met you. I met all these other great people along the way. One of my top five guests actually is going to be on the show tomorrow. Dr. Jen Palawala, I think is what her last name is. I never get her last name right, but she was one of the first videos I'd watch when I started researching things. And then BPD was another thing. I came up with somebody else that knew what I was doing, and she was like, said, "Oh yeah, I have BPD." So I was like, "What the hell is that?" So I started searching it, and lo and behold, that's the first video that popped up is Dr. Jen. So I'm excited to say though that that's tomorrow though. When I'm tomorrow's show, I cannot wait, dude. I'm so excited about it. But if had I
Full
not done
circle
this
moment.
podcast, you know what I'm saying? Like had I not started this thing, dude, I would never got to meet so many cool people like yourself and everybody else, dude. I wouldn't have as many new friends as I've got now that just enjoy talking to people, man. Because these interviews, every time you hit click, you don't know what the conversation is going to be, but it's been great every
Yeah.
time.
I agree 100%. I've made contacts around the world,
Hmm.
around America. I've met up with some of these people in real life and hung out together. It's a great time. And a lot of them I know that if I was going through something, I could call
Yeah,
them, same with you to me and anything like that. So
call me
it's
anytime, buddy. I
great.
got you.
Yeah, and like you said, especially I know you and I are two podcasters in particular who do a lot of men's mental health work as
Yeah,
well. From the some I know some of us host roundtables to just one-on-one episodes to different things, and it's important, like you said, the statistics people don't really realize. And I also do a lot of work in children's suicide, which is
yeah.
not a good first date discussion. I found out the hard way, but it's important. Important.
Oh no.
It's it's as exciting as it is, some of the guests you and I have met and learned,
Yeah.
it's also really heartbreaking at times.
Oh
I've
God,
had some
yes, dude.
people, like you said, you never know what's going to happen. And I've had some veterans open up and say things that kind of, you
Yeah.
don't even know what to say as the host. You're like, how do I even reply to that?
It's funny you say veterans because the first guy I ever interviewed was a guy named Teddy Colgate. He is 22 years in the military, was a Marine. He suffers from TMI, PTSD, all that stuff you can think of. This poor guy cannot make it to the store to pick up a loaf of bread and come back without it being just a stressful moment for him.
Yeah.
This man cried on my show when he was telling his story. Like it was that fucking hard to listen to. It was just like you're hearing like the Humvee blows up, the shit's flying through the air, like just complete chaos is breaking out. This guy is out cold for 15 minutes. And Teddy's like, I had to lie to everybody around me that I'm okay because I'm their commanding officer and I'm telling everyone I'm good. But he's the fucked up part was, and we've touched on this a little bit, is when he came back, they were telling him he's okay. I'm like, he's like, no, 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 something's wrong here. I know something's wrong here. I'm telling you something. Like, did you look at my results when I came back? And the shocking answer was, no, we didn't look at it. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, really? That's so fucked up, and in the next week though it gets even better. So the woman next week, talk about things you didn't know were going to be said. This woman told me that she was dead for 5 minutes on the table. Like I had no idea what this woman was going to tell me about. Now she's had 16 rounds of chemotherapy, has basically no digestive system left. I don't know how she's eating at this point. She's barely making it through, and she's hanging on by the skin of her teeth. And she's still the happiest person I've ever met in my life. Like she had such a great time. We were talking, and that I think was the next point of when I knew this is really something I want to do because I was having such a great time with somebody I've never met in my life. And she was like, it was just like talking to a friend. And I'm like, that's why I kept it casual. I'm like, I could sit and drill you with questions all day, but when you have a casual conversation, I feel like the conversation gets real and you get people to open up. And there was a woman from, I think she was from Ukraine or something. I had her come on. She was talking too. And if you watch her episode, like 30 minutes in, she starts warming up because I'm just trying to get her to open up and say something. And she's kind of one word answer. And then eventually she just gets real mellow and real relaxed. And it was just so much fun because when you get them to go, man, you just get them, you just set them free, man. You just like, let them go, man. Take off.
Yeah.
And then the subject, like, we had the oh shit moment where the guy was talking about suicidal ideation. That scared the fuck out of everybody. Like I've never seen anybody freak out ever in my life. All the way down to 2 weeks in a row now, these women are trying to get me to cry because these stories they're telling me are so fucking gut wrenching. Which I did with the second one, dude. She was bawling her eyes out in front of me, and I'm just feeling it, man. I'm just like, oh god. And I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Anybody laughs at me or not, bro. That was a tough story to listen to. You can't sit there and tell me what this woman's telling you. Her brother was beaten the shit out of by the dad and the uncle. Oh no, the dad and the grandfather. Then finds out he was sexually assaulted. Then he does drugs and he ends up taking his life eventually. And then when she finds out, her dad wants nothing to do with the subject at first. And I was like, that's so fucked up because it's like, this is her brother. Or she didn't understand what was wrong with him. And it proves that point that you don't know what people are going through. Like, if you meet somebody and they're that far gone, it's like you don't understand what they've been through. Please understand that you don't have any idea what these people have been through, especially when it comes to sexual assault. A lot of them don't even want to talk about it because it's that horrific for them to relive that experience.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest mistake people make in that subject too is that they push and they push. It's like, don't push. Don't push. If they don't want to talk to you about it, it's okay. Understand it's nothing you did. They just don't want to talk about it. Now, when they feel like they're ready to talk about it, be ready to listen and don't be a fucking idiot about it. Like literally listen to what this person's saying to you. Because if they're telling you something, that means they trust you a lot. And I think that's where people fuck up too, is that they don't listen and they don't take it serious. Like stop whatever you're doing, pause whatever you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You're watching the football game, pause the fucking game. I don't care. They have DVR for that reason or whatever. Take it serious when someone talks to you about this because when these people open up to you, and they start telling you things, you get ready for some shit you're gonna hear because you don't know what the story was. And then the other thing that really pissed me off though is like I met somebody, she said, what did she say? She said my story's small. No, stop. If you've been sexually assaulted, don't you ever come on my show and say that it's a small thing because it's not. To me, it's not. It's a big deal. You're there talking about this thing. It to me is a massive thing. I hate it when people try to minimize it and go, "Oh, it's just a small thing." No, don't do that to yourself. You went through something horrific. You're here willing to talk about it. You better believe I'm putting this. This is a magnified scale major to me. Like it's the most important thing to me. I don't give a fuck about anything else. I don't care if you feel like it's small. I won't allow you to talk like that because we don't do that negative self-talk shit. I don't do that. I tell people that all the time, and they laugh at me, but I'm serious. Like we don't do all that. No. This is a safe space. This is going to be a serious conversation. What you feel like you want to share, you can. I take it all serious. I don't allow people to minimize it. Like, oh, well, it's no big deal. No, it's a big deal. Stop. Please stop. Like that shit drives me crazy. I'm like, stop minimizing your assault and all these other things. These things you've been through, man. They're to me, they're just we magnify them because it's like I want you to understand how serious I am about it. I care that you're here sharing this story with me because you didn't have to. And the fact that you're doing it, it's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all doing it, but please don't ever minimize it. What you've been through is that's just important as the new dog down the road. You know what I'm saying? It's like come on now, let's stop doing that.
For sure. And as we approach the top of the hour here, I'd love to hear about the future of Pete versus anxiety. Are there any big projects you have planned? Is there a book in the
Actually,
works
it's
or?
interesting you say that because I do have a side project. It's called The Voice of the Voiceless. Now, my self-titled memoir that I've yet to write, everybody. I'm Captain Procrastinating on that one, but it's titled The Voice of the Voiceless. And the basis of the idea of the project is this. It's like if you have a story you want to be told, but you don't feel like you can tell it yourself, I'm willing to be the voice of the voiceless and share it for you. Well, what will happen is that it's completely confidential. I am the only person that will know whose story belongs to who. It always be signed off voice of the voiceless because the point is that your story out there matters to somebody. Your story, somebody's going to hear that story and they're gonna either feel like they can agree with you or they may not agree with you. It doesn't matter. But this way, your story's out there, and you don't have to feel like everybody's asking you 20,000 questions about it and things like that too. So I'm offering to people to tell their story. Now I have one person who signed up that they said they're down for it, and it's a slow project I'm working on, but it is like I said, it's a self-titled my memoir because I feel like I'm out here giving people a place to share their voice, that don't feel like they had a voice before, and things like that. So if you're interested, anybody's interested, reach out. You can hit me up on anything. Social media, you can hit me an email, peteforsocietypod@gmail.com. I'm taking any kind of stories. Like I said, it is completely confidential and always be signed off as voice of the voiceless because, like I said, your story matters to somebody out there.
Yeah, for sure. And we're gonna have your show in the description below for people to check out. And I'm not even gonna ask you who it's for because I think everyone could take something away
Yeah,
from it. I
I
think it's
agree.
a very broad show that covers a lot of stuff. And how do people who want to be on your show reach out to you? You have an email or a website?
Um, you can go to my website, peteversusanxiety.info. All the information's there, how to get a hold of me. I do take guests through Podmatch. That's where a lot of people go through too. If you want to be connected to me and other shows, you can. You could reach out to me on any of my socials, Pete versus Anxiety on Instagram. I'm pretty much all the way down to TikTok. You can just send me a message. What I suggest you do is if you send me a message, send me a little bit of what your story is so I can see it and I'll reach back out to you. I don't think I've ever turned anybody down except for four people, and those four people just did not fit anywhere near what we were trying to do. Like I listen to a lot of things, whatever you want to talk about, but please understand that if I don't choose your story or whatever, it just doesn't it just means you're not fitting what I'm doing at that time. Now I will reach back out to you if I feel like maybe you'll be something better at another time, but reach out, guys. All I can say is no at the end of the day.
Yeah, and if you've shared a lot of your story with us today. And I'm sure a lot of us can take something away from it. But for those of us who want a clear, direct message, what would be the one thing you would leave us with?
Okay, listen. When I tell you this, everybody in the back, fellas, ladies, everybody, talk about your mental health. Okay, stop making it so taboo to talk about these things. It's okay. We all deal with things. The whole point of Pete versus Anxiety is just that we're getting the conversation going for you. Like, mental health's okay to talk about. Stop stigmatizing it all. Please understand at the end of the day, you matter. You being here means something to somebody. If you or somebody else may feel like they're at that edge and you don't know what to do, I have some great tools for you before we sign off. 988 and helphub.co. Okay, so if you're not sure where to get started, helphub.co will lead you through there, figure out exactly what works best for you, and all those kind of things like that. And 988 is just great to have on hand in case you run into a situation where you feel like somebody may be thinking about taking their life, or there's somebody that's having an extreme moment of some sort. Don't let them suffer. For the love of God, please don't let them suffer. Get them some help. Stop letting these senseless violence acts happening and everybody blaming mental health for it, and do something about it now.
Yeah, those are great resources. Definitely the hotline, the suicide hotline is great. And we're gonna have that both of those in the description below as well if you want to check those out. And then Pete, I just want to thank you for your time today and for
Definitely,
sharing
man.
your story. Like you said, talking about our mental health is important. Um, I will say, not in a way of self-pity or victimization, but in a way to
Yeah.
heal and to empower others, which is what you and your platform does. And so I appreciate you sharing your story, which I know is not easy to do, especially as a man, especially in your age demographic is a lot more, there's a lot more stigma
Yeah.
than with the younger generation. So I really appreciate you doing that and sharing your story vulnerably and honestly so that people can grow from it. And again, whoever wants to learn more about you and your guests, we're gonna have Pete versus Anxiety in the description below for y'all to check out. But Pete, thank you for guesting on the show.
Hey man, thank you so much for having me back, bro. It was great. I enjoyed our first conversation. I looked forward to this one. I hyped it up all week. I've been excited, man. Listen, I love what you're doing, man. I think you're great. Anybody that like I said, has a message, my thing is just like, your voice matters. At the end of the day, your voice matters. I don't care what anybody tells you. Your voice matters. You have an opinion, it's all welcome. and things like that. And don't be afraid to share it, guys. Come on now. Remember, don't ask how your day is. Ask how your mental health is today, because at this rate, we are losing men at a large rate, and we got to stop this shit now.
Sailing through the ocean blue, nuclear reactors my crew, guiding the ship, the stars as our guide, through the waves we ride. Jokes and laughter fill the air, on this voyage we have to share, working together, side by side, as one family we will abide. In the heart of the ship we reside, nuclear operators with pride, powering the vessel with every stride. Our mission, a source of great pride.